Okay, calling the Select Board meeting to order, Monday, April 23rd, 6 o'clock. So the first hour we have dedicated to continuing with the Thompson Point wastewater disposal system ordinance. And we stopped at paragraph 304 2 weeks ago. Dean has put together, for the Select Board anyway, a copy with a little yellow mark on the top, which are the changes up to 304. And seems to me we should just continue with 304 and keep track of the changes that we've got.
Yeah.
Huh?
Can I just ask two quick things?
Sure.
For left. Kind of in the middle of this, section 202, BOD.
202 BOD, yeah.
Yeah, we took out the word denoting. I thought I took that out.
Let me look there, I think you're right.
And then I couldn't remember.
Yes,
that
we did, yeah.
Section 204, I really couldn't remember if we said garbage or we said organic waste.
Say that again?
Section 204, where it says garbage shall mean blah, blah, blah. Did we say garbage or did we say organic waste?
I think we left it as garbage, but I have.
Yeah, we switched to organic waste and went back to garbage.
Yeah, I crossed out, then I put it back in, so I think we're still with garbage.
Yep.
So where was denoting?
202.
202.
Oh, yeah, I crossed it out on my
Sure.
copy.
Okay, those are good. So we're at 304.
So 304 was written prior to the last select board meeting, before we edited 303. And so perhaps a lot of 304 is not necessary. A lot of that has to do with lot 204. So if 204 is exempt, which you might, may be a separate discussion, but then there doesn't need to be what, I call a carve out for lot 204 in section 304. So basically, we would just say the following applies to lots 201 through 208, and keep going, and all that stays the same, and then delete the paragraph that starts the following applies to lot 204.
Right.
And then jump down to lots 201 through 208 may voluntarily connect.
Right, so just what we did, back in 303, we said lot 204 is exempt, to your point, right?
Right.
303 says lot 204 is exempt.
As long as until the camp becomes seasonal.
Right.
Okay.
So now,
Mary has something to say.
so, okay, we're about to start, I think, then on where it says lot 201, 208, right?
Right.
Under, which is on the, if you have the new one today, it's on the very top of page 5. Yes, Mary?
So the very first paragraph of that 304, what if we said, shall connect to the public sewer by December 31st, 2028, or prior to this date, if you just say prior to this date, either voluntarily or in the event of blah, 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 then you don't need that sentence on the top of page 5 either.
Yeah, that's fine. So the following applies to lot 2, okay. So where did you start that sentence on 304 then?
Right after the date, December 31st, 2028,
Yeah.
either voluntarily or I'm sorry, prior to this date.
Yeah. Prior to this date, either voluntarily or in the event the town determines that a lessee's on-site wastewater disposal system fails. It's just a condensing thing.
Right. I'm just trying to get the sentence right. So the following applies, lot 208. Were we still going to say except lot 204? Or do we just,
No, not there.
so we don't have to say that. And then all structural plaintiffs shall be connected to the public system by, okay. So then that sentence stays, and then the one down below goes away, is what you're saying? Which is on the top of 208, top of page 5.
Yes.
Okay.
So on the new draft that you gave us on the bottom of page 4, are we keeping that last paragraph?
No.
That all goes away?
Yep.
Because, see where it says stopped here? We
Yeah.
never agreed, now we're agreeing.
Good, okay.
We're,
Here, lot 204 in section 303.
Right, that's, okay, good.
so all that goes away?
So, but the connection fee, 2 paragraphs currently are as they are?
I think that should go away too.
Yeah.
It should be because that's going to be a separate document. It has to be a separate document with
Good.
fees.
And also, I would think that there could be a fee schedule. These terms seem,
This
A little
part,
too
this doesn't
inflexible.
need to be in here.
yeah.
Do we need to say that the fee schedule will be on a, whatever the name of that is? Or you just say stop silent on it?
For now, I would just be silent, and I'm sure the attorney will pipe up and say, you should, if you're going to have this document, you should reference it
Like a
here.
one-line sentence.
But they can do that, we don't.
Well, I just put a note though. So we're gonna reference, do you remember the name of that other one? The one
There
that
is
you,
no name, we don't have a name.
It's-
All I'm saying is the fees, the discussion of the fees is a separate document.
so I'm gonna put a note in, reference a fee document.
Yeah. For Lane's Lane. For lots 208 through 201.
For land.
Fee schedule document. Or fee schedule agreement or something. It's going to be called
Some
something.
such thing.
There'll be more signatures needed.
4 lanes, lane 201 to 208, okay. So you're saying to us then that this paragraph goes away, the leaseholder,
Yeah.
that lot?
So you just end, you basically end on the bottom of page 4.
Right.
So all of that goes away, the rest of 304 goes away?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Except the last sentence, or once the lot is connected, that ties them back into everyone else's rent structure. I don't know, it's
Yeah, you
needed.
need a sentence that says you're gonna pay a connection fee per some other agreement, and you're gonna pay sewer fee. So you
As per
should leave
Article
the sewer
6.
fee element in there.
So do you leave that sentence in there now?
That's the last sentence, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the structure, that goes away.
Yeah.
So we're up to 401, does everybody agree to that? You guys okay with what we're doing? So 401, capacity of the public sewer.
So, this is where schedules A1, or what happened, Schedule A was the original schedule of camps that were allowed to connect, and the committee, the select board changed that to A1 in 2000, but then changed it back to A in 2007, I think accidentally. So I think we want to change it back to A1, and I'm gonna look to Steve and Chris to say the camps that are connected. Not necessarily right this second, but I think that list will come from you guys.
The last word of the first paragraph and 4 lines up from it, ordinance, is capitalized, and other places it's not. I don't know which we should do, if it's supposed to be capitalized, but maybe just do a search and find and replace. After the first ordinance that shows up, I would just take the "it is" and put it on the other side of "in addition." So you have your introductory clause and then the sentence.
Addition is designed to
Section 402, the indented
Do you want us, everybody good with the, that
paragraph.
Schedule B there, the way that's, these buildings are listed on Schedule B,
I guess we kind of have to see the schedule at the final run of this, you know, all the attachments to make sure they,
So
Jive.
what's the difference? You have A1 and then you have B.
like, we don't have
Yeah,
A1.
there's a comment in
we have an
there.
outdated one.
Yeah, but I don't have
There's a
it to
comment
look
there
at
to
to know.
update schedule.
That's in the packet, isn't it?
It was.
And it's gonna include Lane's Lane.
Well, why
Because
don't we call it B1 and be consistent with A1?
it will be, it was just highlighted, I added a comment to it, so in the digital version, you can see basically the only lots left to add, which are not already on the system, are Lane's Lane. So that will be.
Are what?
Lane's Lane lots.
Schedule B1 is going to be Lane's Lane. Currently, Schedule B is the 5 or 6 lots that were exempt when they first constructed the system that are now all connected. So the original Schedule B is going to be part of A1, so, and then B1 is Lane's Lane only.
Okay.
It's hard for you to see because you're not looking at it.
No, I'm just wondering, usually numbers come after letters when there's more than one number in that section, like B1, B2, B3. But here we just have A1, it could just be Schedule A and Schedule B, unless we're planning on building out a B2 and a B3.
I think maybe what Dean was thinking is that A1, I think Schedule A1 was what had been agreed to by the select board in one of these previous ordinances that we were looking at, right? Is that what? we're-
Yeah.
And so.
Instead of amending
we're
that.
just instead of going backwards, we're just say, okay, this is what it is, and
And should it be, could be A2, is B1 in some ordinance also? Or if we just made it A2 instead of B1, then,
B is a current list, and we're gonna revise it, so that, you could call it B revised or B1.
Yeah, I mean, I was going
you
to be
can
consistent,
figure out
A1
what
and B1,
letters
if
you
we're
want.
gonna-
or yeah, or
Doesn't matter.
A1 and A2.
or A1 and A2, it doesn't matter too
it
much.
doesn't matter, just let you know that one is
good steak
this and the
sauce.
other is Lane's Lane.
Okay, so you're going to figure that one out, Pete. So, but the point is, the second schedule is Lane's Lane,
B1.
Yes.
B1 is Lane's Lane only.
Was there a reason in the section 402 why structure was replaced for building? And does that affect anything else in the document? Is structure a definition that we use somewhere else?
You can have a structure that's not a building, like if you add a deck, that's technically a structure.
Or a solar panel? I don't know. That's the thing that came up down by Thompson's
Well,
Point
actually, okay,
3-4
so
years
there is
ago.
a definition for structure on page 3, which I suppose,
I just don't want to inadvertently make a change that causes a
Structure
complication.
shall
down
mean
the
any
road.
building which is equipped with a toilet facilities.
and maybe that's okay to use for 402 as structure, right? You know, I think in zoning,
It's
it's
as
a little,
defined.
yeah, as defined, yeah.
I think it's,
So-
take out building. and put
Go
structure
back
back.
to
Go back to
structure.
structure.
Okay.
Do you want as defined here, Ed, or just that's what it means?
Yeah, I think it could be capitalized, because I think it's capitalized in section 2, you know, where it's defined, it's a capital. And it references the
Yeah.
definition.
At 2.218 right now.
Right, I was looking at my old one, I could. 218.
Yeah, on the new one.
Anything more on 402?
Well, just the paragraph, or the colon list. After a number, it's typically capital letters, and then if you indent again, then it's Roman numerals, and if you indent from Roman numerals, then it's small letters.
So what do you want the B and C to be?
They should be all caps.
Okay,
No caps, or what do you say, all caps?
All caps.
All caps,
Current-
A.
Currently, those are
A.
little a, little, no increase in occupancy,
Okay,
A.
I see, okay.
Yeah, those should start out.
How do we know what plumbing connections were in place before July 1st, 1993?
That's why I think I changed it, except in accordance. So that, I mean, that one takes, yeah, it's sort of a little bit of a mind bender, see, with the, but that's the issue I came up with, Fritz, was it seemed to require us to know that, and that doesn't make sense.
There was 5 or 6 structures that were not hooked up to the original contract. They had like a 5-year, because they had put in mound systems before, and the select board said, okay, you don't have to hook on now, but in 5 years you have to hook on. I don't know if it's referring to that.
The plumbing connections are, I'm assuming, do they call them units? What do they call it in the schedule?
I think they're on here someplace.
Number of connections. So connection is defined in Schedule A. Is what? Do we have a definition for connection? Commission?
Yeah, the definition's 211. Plumbing connection shall be any fixture or appliance connected to the Thompson's Point wastewater system, that facilities that generate sewage.
That's not this connection. Right?
So the connection in Schedule A contradicts the connection. It's not,
Well, there would be a definition for connection that's not plumbing connection. You know, the plumbing connection's kind of in the residential, in the domicile, whereas the connection's part of like the underground system, right?
Yeah.
so the number C says I can't add additional plumbing connections,
Except in accordance.
which are any
Except in
fixtures.
Subsection B above.
So as long as you're allowed one toilet, one lavatory, one bathroom, and one shower head per bathroom.
What was the difference between a lavatory and a,
I'm not
Bathroom?
sure.
or what was the definition of a lavatory? It's not defined.
Sink,
It's a sink?
yeah. Typically, it's a sink. Laptop, you know,
One
Two sink
toilet, one
laptop.
sink, one bathtub, and a shower head.
Per bathroom.
Per bathroom.
Doesn't say how many bathrooms.
so then you go through this list and everyone's allowed like one of those, one bathroom. For most of these, there's no mention of dishwashers or garbage disposals or wash machines.
Sounds like the list is needed.
There's a,
Wasn't there a list someplace?
Yeah.
Barry, wasn't there a list that
Big
said we had
Briggs,
wash
was that-
machines and
Oh, yeah.
There was, I don't know where that went to.
I read that, it was in a white notebook once upon a time.
Tom Mansfield and Steve inventory all the camps at one point, and they looked for disposal grinders and dishwashers. I never saw the
So
list.
this was before Tom Mansfield, this was.
Yeah,
the
before
very beginning.
original
It was- So
contract.
everybody
Yeah.
would be, I guess, grandfathered in, they had this,
Yeah.
and there was a whole
list.
There was a whole list. I don't know where it is.
I never saw the list. I
have my own questions about the public being allowed to vote.
yeah, I remember Tom though did check for garbage disposal, because you went with him, right?
No, that was.
I
Tom
saw
did-
something about wash machines, so.
Yeah, and that we talked about a little bit later, but the washing machines, if they had one, they were allowed to
Yeah,
keep
but
it.
according to
but
this,
they
you're not allowed a wash machine. None of these people are allowed a wash machine.
there's a, under,
Section,
it's actually, just the next section of that. So it's very, actually it's E.
No, section 207. Low flow design means devices that incorporate a water saving function during use and that comply with the following limits: toilets, shower heads, faucets, clothes, washing machines, and dishwashers are all theoretically allowed if they're defined.
But according to our schedule, none of them are allowed. Because the schedule says they're allowed one connection, and a connection is defined as the,
I thought that connection is to the sewer main. one connection.
Okay.
I think it's a different connection, like,
Yeah, you can have multiple sinks, but you're one connection.
right, so the
Per-
plumbing connections are all the things that tie in the building.
to the house.
And then one from the building to the sewer system. But that means we should define sewer connection.
Well, back in
Just
the
after
day,
plumbing
attorneys
connections.
told us that we should, these Schedule A1 and B1, whatever, that it used to have the person's name or the address or the building or did something, and they told us specifically that we needed to make it with number of connections, not,
To the sewer main.
yes. So,
Have we defined what a connection is, to your point?
No, I think that should be it makes sense to put it right
It
after
kinda
plumbing
says it.
connection.
Approved connections to Thompson's Point wastewater treatment disposal system. That's external, it's from the house to,
Well, I realize that, but I think there was, somewhere along the way, I remember somebody doing something to an accessory structure, and they ended up piping the sewage from the accessory structure to the main camp to go into the one connection.
oh, I see. Oh, shortcutting the system,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Section 211, you have a definition for plumbing connection,
Right.
but you don't really have a,
I guess Fritz's point is in section 402, if someone didn't have a clothes washer and they want to put one in, 402 saying, section C is saying that they can't if it wasn't there before
Well, there's no
93.
list, so you just say, well, it's been here all the time.
Yeah, but you gotta define, like Frank just said, you gotta define plumbing connection. You and I are saying it's external to the house, to the wastewater system, right?
Yeah, but this section C is saying, even if someone wanted to put in a washer, they're not allowed to.
It's a little restrictive, isn't
I
it?
think so.
Well,
I mean, I'd get
according
rid
to
of.
this, no additional plumbing connection result, except those to replace anything. So according to this, no matter what they wanted to put in, if they wanted to put an extra sink in, if they wanted to put an extra shower head in, if they want to do any plumbing connection at all, it doesn't say anything about anything that needs to be, they can't do it. It says no additional plumbing connections.
Well, except then look at section E. Only low-flow design dishwashers may be installed. Well, wait a second, you're allowed to install a dishwasher, but C says you can't add any plumbing
that means you already
connections.
have a dishwasher, now you're gonna get a new one.
So it's saying, oh, replaced.
So would you take out installed and say replaced?
I don't know. My personal feeling is, can the system handle?
I think 90% of them have them now anyway.
So then we're just unfairly penalizing 10% of the renters who pay
Well,
the
so
same
that's-
price?
Yeah, so that's been raised, so like the dishwashers don't use as much water, but the washing machines actually do use a fair amount of water. So the argument that I've always heard, and again, as you go through this, my understanding was, like what Fritz said, is there was a list that the town had, I've never seen it, that basically documented what washing machines, or which camps had the washing machines as of the date. Steve's recollection is that when they were doing construction out there, the word on the street was, hey, if you have a washing machine, you're grandfathered. So everybody was getting junk washing machines and putting them in their camps just to say, hey, I've got one, that way I'm grandfathered. I don't know how many have them.
I would say 90% of people have washers and dryers down there.
So from a design flow standpoint,
Right, that's
if you
the
take
question.
like a July day, like say typically the 4th of July and then the first week in August are kind of the peak weeks. If 90% of the camps have washing machines, it probably won't make a huge difference if more camps get them. If 20% of the camps have washing machines, and now we add 80 additional washing machines to Thompson's Point, and each one does, say, 2 or 3 loads on a peak day in the summer, which I think is very possible, we could see higher numbers. From a state of Vermont standpoint, the environmental protection rules, they regulate it on a per bedroom basis. So they don't take into account washing machine,
Yeah.
but they're looking at a lot different situation than what Thompson's Point is.
But there has
Finite.
been communication between the previous, John Ecclesiak.
Yes.
And Tom, and there was, I mean, I don't know how, enforceable those are, but John certainly had a,
Of no additional.
could, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Are we being too restrictive? I like Frank's idea. If you have a separate building, he's saying people could be running it into the main house, so there's only one tie into the septic system. I would want to restrict that. But if 90,
Well, technically, again, under the state of Vermont rules, adding an accessory dwelling does increase the flows. So that would be a violation because you're increasing the flows. Now, what we've seen, what the way people can circumvent the state rules is if it's on the same foundation. So that's a whole different can of worms.
Or if they don't have a bathroom in it? If there's no,
If there's no, you can do an accessory
dwelling
structure,
with
but
no
as soon as you
plumbing.
add a bedroom, that's what generates the
With a
flows.
bedroom, right.
Yes.
state guidelines.
state.
Yes.
Right.
And so if the state was to know, I mean, if they did it illegally, then it would be an enforcement for the town. But theoretically, if somebody has a primary camp and they added a separate accessory structure with a small pump station or gravity to the main structure, A, Steve would probably know about it, but B, in the state, adding an additional bedroom is an increase of 140 gallons per day, which increases the design flows and would be in violation with permit. So when they tried to submit a state wastewater permit or an indirect discharge permit, they would be technically caught. Now, whether that's occurred out there,
Well, I'm just wondering that if a person happened to have a camp that was 3 bedrooms,
yeah.
now they've reduced it down to 2, they've got a bedroom and a garage now, they put a bathroom in there, they have the right to put in extra connections in for a bathroom, and they run a pipe down underneath the other camp and run it into the system. They haven't increased the bedrooms, they've got their water in their extra building.
No, that's a 100% valid.
That's Carol Connors.
Engineering wise
That's what it is.
Yeah, so
and legally.
So from a technical standpoint, if they had over 3 bedrooms, so the way the state looks at it is the first 3 bedrooms are 140 gallons per day. The fourth and then consecutive bedrooms are only 70 gallons per day. So it does drop down. But your example of 3 bedrooms would work. I mean, that would, from a state standpoint, that would be no additional flows. How these would be applied as an enforcement issue,
I'm
I think
still
is.
confused about C here, because, I mean, it doesn't say anything about,
C prohibits from doing that.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, but
Technically, it does.
C doesn't even allow you to have a kitchen sink.
It's just talking about bathrooms, which
No,
it's silent on kitchen sinks. I mean, it seems like it's not allowing or restricting. So you could potentially have 1 or more kitchen sinks. It seems to me, that's how I read that.
no, because plumbing connection defined in section 211 says any fixture or appliance connected to the wastewater system that generates sewage, which a sink does.
Right, but then it says down here, no additional plumbing connections result except those in place on or before.
So if someone put in an island-
Except an ordinance in accordance with a subsection B above, and subsection B here says bathroom plumbing connections are limited to 1.
Maybe
Yeah,
I
but it
would
doesn't say anything about adding a kitchen island and having an extra sink put in the kitchen island.
So if we just
So, can we
flat out
reduce it?
say we're allowed to have wash machines, we don't know if we're gonna overload the system, because we don't know how many people
I don't
are.
think you're gonna,
Allow 1 sink. is-
because the people that have them,
There's so many that have them, what's
And
a
the
few
people that
more?
If you're using.
don't
that,
have them,
you're not using
they're not gonna get them anytime soon unless the camp is sold. I don't see that to be an issue.
You think most people have?
Most people have.
Yeah.
Most camps are down there since 1993 have been redone at least once, some 2 or 3 times.
So what do you want C to say? Assuming 90%, what do we want C to say then?
I mean, if you're
Just
saying
let the
from
rest
an
get it.
engineering standpoint, if allowing 10% of the people to put in washing machines isn't gonna overload the system, it doesn't seem fair that they're paying the exact same rates and aren't allowed to have the same amenities.
I would agree,
From a
man. I don't know
policy
how,
standpoint.
I mean, between you and Eric, you guys going to
Well,
have to. I mean,
they're paying the same yearly fee, but they're paying
I don't
different,
know
they're
who
paying
had them
different
before, though.
per number of gallons because they're using more.
Paying metered fee.
Metered, but I mean on the lease. I mean, we're leasing we're saying this is the lease fee, but that's 2 different bargains that they're getting.
Well, it's
One
gonna-
camp is allowed to have a washing machine, and the other isn't. They have to go to Mills
Right,
and
but you're gonna have
Greer.
the same issue if you say this camp has 1 bedroom and this camp has 4 bedrooms. Does the one have 1 bedroom pay a different yearly fee than
Yeah, I
the
mean,
one
I
that has
think-
4 bedrooms?
Well,
Yeah.
they're assessed. It's done on their assessed value, right, Mary? The price of the lease that they pay is based on the assessed value of the property,
Land.
which includes the dwelling?
No,
No,
the lease is the land only.
it's the land.
I don't know if half
Yeah,
the
they own-
campers
they
down there
own
know
their
this thing
buildings.
exists.
And taxes are on the cottage.
Oh, okay. So that's what we're getting revenue.
We're getting revenue from both.
Oh, lease and tax. Can we delete C? Is that, can we just delete it?
If we're not worried about a few more dishwashers, washing machines, we say later on, low flow, and we just, what is C doing for
Well,
us?
yeah, I mean, how hard would it be, I guess, to get an inventory of the,
That's the,
The thing is you would have to go back and say, who had them before? I mean,
well, no, I mean, who has them right now?
I would say 90%.
I mean, with that information, I think we're getting too bogged down here, too restrictive.
I mean, what I think I would do
To add
is just take
bathrooms and
out
kitchens
the
and
word
anything.
bathroom and just put
If you
in
get rid of it,
plumbing connections are limited to one toilet, one
I can
lavatory,
add-
one bathroom, one bathtub, one shower head, and one kitchen sink.
Anyone?
no, that, section B is only about bathrooms. It's saying you can't have 3 showers in a bathroom. That's what the purpose of that.
Yeah, I think that's, believe it or not, we've had people, clients that have had like these fancy showers with like 6 shower heads.
Yeah.
That are putting out like 40 gallons a minute, you know, it's ridiculous. So I think that's the benefit of section B, is just to analyze the actual bathroom component,
To keep it-
independent of the kitchen component.
Well, B, I understand, but I'm still, what are we trying to do in C with all this discussion?
I mean, if, from an engineering standpoint, it doesn't seem like getting rid of C is going to hurt the system. I think
Yeah, so I think with C, I think what, I'm assuming we're probably gonna have another week of revisions. What might make sense is I can reach out to Brian Harrington, who took over from John Ecclesiak. He has access to John's records, and then depending upon what information John and Tom Mansfield have that kind of predates our involvement, let's at least look back to see what he had.
You're trying to verify
I
the
will.
percentage of,
I will, and maybe the list that Fritz is talking about, maybe the state has, I don't know.
well, and C also lets you allow, add any plumbing fixtures you want if it's not there. Right? So you could add bathrooms, you could add 2 bathrooms, so each bedroom has a bathroom.
as long as they're low flow design.
if you were to delete
It
it.
seems to not regulate the number of bathrooms, it's only the number of fixtures per bathroom, which is.
Yeah, so the state, the way, so you could, from a state standpoint with wastewater flows, you could have a 2-bedroom house with 6 bathrooms or 16 bathrooms.
Right.
And they have no jurisdiction, because you're still gonna have the same number of people living there, they can only use how many
much.
bathrooms?
Because
That's
of
what I was
that.
saying with the same.
Yeah, so, but it's the bedrooms that they restrict. The washing machine is something we typically don't see other than at Thompson's Point. And I fully understand why it was probably in the original rules, because maybe there was only 15 washing machines out there when they originally designed the system.
And it was-
That was something Trudell did.
It
You know,
was pre-low flow.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we have
And
a lot of
then,
efficiency
and then
in
maybe
that.
over time, they have added illegal washing machines. I don't know that answer.
So what are you gonna do, verify the percentage of washing machines?
Yeah, let me call Brian at the state and I'll see, because it sounds like John Ecclesiak, who was the original engineer reviewing these permits, has some correspondence with Tom Mansfield.
But if it is in the 90% range, what are we gonna do to C here?
We'll try to argue for allowing them and.
Yeah, we'll try to make that argument. So listen, you know, we do, again, the thing I've always cautioned everybody is we don't actually measure daily readings. So the peak week is an average throughout the week, but we're nowhere near the 20,000 gallon per day maximum. Whether or not you were to look at, you know, a Saturday, say,
July 3rd.
exactly, that might be a peak day, and maybe it puts us closer, and I don't know what washing machines would do.
So when you say nowhere near, we're at 10, 12?
13?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But again, it's surprising when you measure it by the week and you average it over 7 days. I mean, I think you see that, the weekends are swamped, and the week is.
It all depends. You know,
Wednesday,
it's not
Thursday.
usually the 4th of July week, it's usually the first week in August when all the renters are there. Because usually the 4th of July is
keep it.
usually just the campers.
Yeah.
They kind of restrict that to the campers, and they're all there doing their, because they do their big annual party down there. So it's usually the campers. They are great because of the education that we've been doing for the past 20 some odd years of let's, you know, keep low flow and all that. And it's when August comes around, it's the renters, things seem to spike.
How many renters have kids sleeping on the floor when there's only one bedroom?
It's busy, it's busy.
So that's my thought about when you add bathrooms, technically for the state, it really doesn't matter for residents,
Right.
but for a vacation home, it will make a difference.
So if you find out there's 90%,
Yep.
so then what are we gonna do with C?
We could put something in that.
Strike it.
Strike it?
Yeah, strike it.
Okay, so the high probability is we're gonna strike C.
I guess the question is, aside from washing machines, are there any other plumbing connections that would be a concern? Is that?
Garbage disposals you can't have.
Right.
Right.
That's,
Yes.
period.
Yep.
And even the dishwasher, it's surprising the dishwashers really don't use enough water to say so. And I think you could argue that by using a dishwasher, you're actually using less water than if you're hand washing. So I think that makes sense.
The dishwasher I just got does a whole load with 1.1 gallons on it.
Yeah.
It's minimal setting. I mean, you can't wash.
That's a good
dishes.
one, and the Energy
Yeah.
Star was 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I guess the other thing you could do is if you do allow clothes washers, the new high efficiency only use 13 gallons.
about to say the
So
HE.
what you might do is it might be worth adding a condition in there. So if we do find it's a small number, that people that don't have clothes washers, and we do allow them to add it, you just make them meet the current efficiency standard, which basically cuts the load by 2/3.
We could keep it fair by having any replacement
Has to
washing
meet
machine
the
be
current-
HE
yes.
also, and
Yeah.
that'll,
And that would-
having the load.
And how do we check that?
I can guarantee, I just built a new house and I have a house, my appliances don't last any more than 7 years, so, you're taking them, you're replacing them every 7 years.
But Chris is saying, how do we enforce no low flow design?
Well, they're not making Cadillac.
Yeah, I don't know how you would.
It'll make
If
them
you're
because
used every day, then what's Thompson's point, every 6 weeks of a year.
And that may be worse for them.
It's even the garbage disposals. You know, we tried to look at, because I've never been in any of the camps. Steve goes in some for the ones that you guys work
I
on.
take care of,
But
yeah.
the only way we can really regulate garbage disposals is to look at the septic tank effluents, which is only measured every fall, and we try to see if people have more sludge than others. But that's not an easy way to tell either. I mean, it's almost like, I don't know, how did Tom used to do that? Did he just send out a letter and go look?
I mean, I think the committee did try to educate leaseholders.
Yeah. I don't believe there's any garbage disposals down there.
Yeah.
I believe there was a few to start, and they have since gone.
So that's not really an issue except for ongoing education.
Yeah, so it's even like the clothes washing machines. I mean, if nobody checks, they probably have added them.
I mean, when we update this, we just ought to, make sure the campers all see this and,
Like I said, I bet you half of the campers don't even know this exists.
Yeah, Tom normally sends out, we have the annual meetings, and Tom normally, they send out a little memo to all the camp owners. I don't know when the last note was sent out, but it basically, any unforeseen circumstances that we see, like, the disposable wipes or makeup jars that Steve has an issue with, or garbage disposals, it goes in a memo to all the camp owners.
And for the most part, over the 20-some odd years, they've been excellent to deal with, and there's not really, it's not really a huge issue, let's put it that way.
should we continue?
Well, just
What do you-
as that discussion, if we do end up striking C,
Yep,
let's go back to the parent paragraph here, section 402, we would, I think, make it read, may be renovated or reconstructed, provided such renovation or reconstruction does not increase occupancy, period. And then we would strike of the structure, or we could occupancy of the structure, and then get rid of or increase plumbing connections which result in increased flows relative to flows as of September. Because that's kind of just repeating section C. And then such renovation or reconstruction must meet the following: A, B, D, and E.
So you get rid of that date, the September 90th?
Yeah.
So you get rid of
Just-
all that
just-
after
Structure,
structure?
and then leave in the last sentence. And then just another editing, in section A there, occupancy uses another definition in the definition, so I just wanted to reference that, to have it be 201/208. Because when you go to section 208, it references bedroom, and then you go to bedroom, section 201 for that definition.
so 201/208.
Yeah.
208/.
201, that's how I had it here. And then I would capitalize, really anything that is a defined word, we capitalize and,
Occupancy is defined?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
is capital.
yeah, and that just keys that it's a defined word. All of those A, B, and D should not have a period. It's all kind of one long sentence
So-
from the semicolon, from the colon.
Okay.
And then a
Based on the
period at
changes
the
you
end.
just made, I think we can cross out C for now. If we need to bring it back in, we can. So then you have your AB, we've changed the sentence under 402, the mother statement that you talked about. So we have AB, and then we'll redefine C and D for the last two paragraphs to look okay, or, right, on this following page?
Yep.
And were you gonna do something with either,
Yeah.
you have only low-flow design dishwashers maybe installed? Do we want to put in something to do with the washers if we decide to put those in?
Dishwasher?
Just to mimic the same thing,
You say
or clothes
wash-
washers?
Clothes washer and dishwasher?
There is another section that's.
Well, 207, yeah, I mean, D and E, or what's gonna become C and D, are kind of, I don't see the difference.
That's a
Because
good point.
we can just get rid of the last one, because dishwashers is in there, in 207.
Okay.
Low-flow design means, yeah. You're
Dishwashers of
talking
10
about
gallons per
dishwasher
load.
machines, yeah.
So
So,
E is, we can get rid of that,
wow,
because it's referenced in D.
Okay.
Sweet, it's gonna be like a 2-page document.
that's good, simplicity.
I just also noticed low flow in that last sentence was capital, and then in section D, it's lowercase with no hyphen. However, I think it is in the definition, we should carry forward.
Are we revising the numbers in 207?
Oh, yeah.
There'll be some updates to that, let me see.
Capital is how it is in 207.
So 203, 207 stays, 208, 9, 10, we start messing around with numbers
You get the wash machines and dishwashers.
later on.
I would think.
217 was deleted, so we start changing numbers around 217, I think.
But in section 207, clothes washing machine, what's HE now?
Yeah, so the new high efficiency are 13 gallons per load.
So we would strike 27?
So do you leave it, and you leave it the way it is, and then after the last of 10 gallons per load, you put in there all,
Replacement or
yes,
new?
all replacement or new fixtures shall meet the current, and then we could spell out in that email that I sent to Dean.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
As of this date?
Yes.
This is
That's a great
207 you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Can you even
They
buy
can all
one
go
that's
on
not
getting new ones
efficient anymore?
tomorrow? Okay.
Can you even buy one that's not efficient anymore?
Let's say they bought one secondhand though, it would just prohibit you. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you're talking 20 gallons per load. I mean, it's a pretty significant volume difference.
From 27 to 20?
It goes from 31 to 13. Oh, so sorry, yes.
27 to
27 in your manual
Yeah.
to 13,
So it's having it,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which would be great for the system. I like the idea of just adding,
And even the dishwashers,
That
even
sentence.
like the Energy Star now, so if you buy a new dishwasher, it meets Energy Star, it's only 3.5 gallons per load.
Should we be changing that yet, or is that too?
well, what he's recommending is the last, have a comma after the dishwasher one, and just say any new appliance or a replacement needs to meet the Energy Star standards as of
Such and such a day.
June 1st, 2018.
Just say current, because that'll change over time.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yep.
Nice, flexible document.
So what if we should just say that the low-flow design means devices that incorporate a water-saving function during use and that comply
An
with,
updated list.
Because if we don't touch this, it allows what people have in their camps right now to be okay, rather than telling everyone they have to change it over tomorrow. But then if anyone changes anything, they can't, the last part of that sentence is gonna kick in. Just to keep everyone in compliance currently.
Okay. So everybody's good with 403 and 404?
Why do we have to have both of them?
You what?
Why do we have to have both of them?
One is outside the area.
Well, there's nothing going to be on the schedule that's outside the area.
And just,
Why wouldn't you just have like 404?
and delete 403,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you're defining it in A1, B1. Okay, everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
And then 404 becomes 403. Okay? Five oh one?
They're the Thompson's Point wastewater disposal system rather than sewage disposal system.
Okay.
Which includes, I guess, the end of line 2,
Yeah,
toilet waste, kitchen sink, lavatory, bathtubs, dishwashers, washing machines, and showers only. Is that true? Those were missing?
Should be.
Okay.
so you're gonna add what?
Bathtubs, dishwashers, and washing machines.
Our bathtubs, after that? I mean,
There's
One-
separate showers and bathtubs and something,
Yeah,
yes.
it said bathroom 1, bathtub 1, shower head.
Bathtub, dishwasher was the third one you added.
Washing machine. And then, straddling the second to last and the beginning of the last line, sewage works. It's certainly a municipal term, but we didn't define it. Is that something we should define, or is there a defined term that we should be using there?
it's sort of just.
Is that the wastewater
standard-
system?
Standard lingo, I mean, standard,
Uh,
sewage, the plant?
Is it the mound? Is it?
It's the plant, I think, or the,
You
no,
call it
all of it, really.
treatment plant?
The
Yeah,
facility.
it would be
That's
treatment
what you call
facility.
it.
you know?
Treatment facility?
Treatment facility? Can we switch that?
Where are you? I haven't found that.
It's like at the
501?
501,
Yeah,
last line, the beginning,
Yes.
sewer works,
yeah. You want
sewage
that-
works,
You want that to be what?
treatment facility?
Yeah, sounds.
I think I've seen that other
Yeah.
places.
Not to be too specific, but in that first line, I guess line 3, where it lists toilet waste, kitchen, sink, lavatory, showers, really is water coming from the sinks, lavatories, bathtubs, dishwashers. It's, it's not the kitchen sink. It's what is flowing out of the kitchen sink, et cetera.
It'd be gray water or
Right. So perhaps, which includes toilet waste, gray water from kitchen sinks, lavatory, showers, bathtubs,
Yeah.
dishwashers, and washing machines,
You don't have bathroom sinks on there.
and bathrooms.
Oh, lavatory, right? It's a bathroom sink.
Lavatory.
That's true.
Okay, yep.
I just learned.
Is gray with an E or a A?
It's interchangeable. I don't know how it's commonly used for septic. Do you? Have you seen it? Engineering guys? Is gray Gray or Grey? They're both correct spellings.
I
But,
think it's GREY.
yeah, I just haven't seen
That's what I
it.
would say.
you're the engineer.
Permits and
You're the
stuff.
operator,
You're
Shelton,
the
so-
engineer.
So what if you just keep section 504? You just start, no person shall discharge waste caused due to the following substance, blah, blah, and end where it says or constitute a nuisance. And strike 503 and the rest of 504.
Yeah, what was that?
So it's section 504.
Yeah.
Start, no person shall discharge or cause to be discharged the following described substances, materials, whatever, that in the opinion of the commission that such waste can harm the public sewer treatment plant or can otherwise endanger life, limb, public property, or constitute a nuisance, period.
So you're saying that's redundant to 503?
I'm saying strike 503 and the rest of 504, because you're starting to list every chemical you can think. There's plenty of new chemicals every year. If it's
Okay.
any of these things that are listed specifically will, in the opinion of the commission, be harmful to the sewer, life, limb, public property, or nuisance.
So you put a period after the word nuisance,
Yes,
and delete 503
and the rest of 504.
and 504. Yeah, because you just keep defining, you're
You
right.
keep adding stuff.
Wow, that's a good one.
That was a really good one. You get prizes like who deletes the most in one shot. You're ahead.
So we have a new 503. So that becomes 503. And all the balance goes away after the word nuisance. Wow. We can make plastered placards with this small ordinance and post them around.
We could almost stop there.
Well, let's see how fast the next one goes.
We can't put photographic solutions in there. Who the hell even knows what that is
Silver
anymore?
or something.
Yeah.
Can we do the next one, 505? Is that simple? What's that, is that one? Oh, that's a long one.
There's sewage works again at the bottom of 505, the second to last line, treatment facility.
Yep, treatment facility, yeah.
You want to say sewage treatment facility or just treatment facility? No extra words.
Were those dates still true in 506? April 1st, November
Because
1st?
the lease is April 15th to October 31st now, so.
So we should
want
be,
to say April 14th?
14th at 11:59?
Wait, so discharge, no, you can't.
so April 14th,
Into the public sewer.
and what's
I
the,
mean, on, you can't say April 14th, it's April, it's the permit.
But then we get rid of on, because on April 15th, you should be allowed to.
Okay.
Weather depending.
just say
Weather
before.
depending.
You should really put weather depending in there.
Okay, and then who determines that? Who has the authority to,
Well, if it's still freezing, I can't start the system.
so how about, instead of weather depending, dependent on the system is up and running? Some sentence
Yeah,
that
however you
defines
guys
that
want
you've turned it on.
Because I mean, we're what's today's date? 23rd. 23rd, and we're not on.
Yeah, good point. So, no person shall discharge any substance into the public sewer before April 15th of any year or after November, or October 31st, or after,
For the first stage, you say at the discretion of
The sewer commissioner, the select board.
sewer commission, i.e. frozen ground. I mean, you gotta put something in, so if he's behind in his work, he doesn't get a buy. You know, right, since the April 15th date has to do with,
the lease.
well, turning on the system. I'm saying you just can't,
Oh, the April 15th is because that's when their lease
Right.
legally
I
allows
understand that
us
part,
to
we're
be
talking
there.
about the septic system though.
The exception
Right.
is like, if it's not able to be, operate, if he's not able to turn it on.
But that would be either a different sentence or at the end of this sentence.
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying, don't leave it just to the discretion of the operator. You got to give some boundaries, like,
Yeah, if I'm a slacker.
yeah, if it's a slacker, then that's the point.
Well, let's just think about that. Let's say it's not you, and it's some other contractor, and they're slacking and the system's not on. We can't have the rule be that people can start flushing their toilets when the system's not on. We have to
Well,
fire the contractor.
I'm
and
trying to
turn it
make
up and running.
the point, there might be reasons why the system's not on, the ground's frozen.
Yeah, but regardless of the reason, if it's not on, no one should be flushing their toilets.
Right, but this sentence here is
Well, you're-
it's
if
for
you-
the leaseholders,
Yeah.
not for the operator. This is a policy for the
For the
leaseholder.
leaseholder.
Okay.
So the leaseholders can't, we were saying the leaseholders can't put anything down before April 15th.
But what happens if
But
he
that
doesn't
has-
get to it until it's not on today?
Right, so that's that second
That
sentence.
would be a whole different sentence.
Right,
Okay?
short, so,
As otherwise restricted by the board and commission.
Sure.
or no, it could be the same sentence, comma, only if the system is been
Operational.
operational for the year.
During this timeframe.
Yeah,
Okay, but that doesn't protect him being a slacker. Do you want to put like, for example, frozen ground or something?
yeah,
don't you?
the contract with him is what protects, the contract with the
Sewer operator.
sewer operator is what protects the
Okay.
leaseholders from slacking, right? Not this document, this is just for the leaseholders' use.
Okay, so you said, or if system is not operational.
Yeah, so no person shall discharge any substance into the public sewer before April 15th of any year or after October 31st.
Yeah?
And if the system can't be.
Oh, I know, I
And
know,
the,
I know.
and the system can't be operated by April 15th, then it wouldn't be part of this document. It'd just be a notice out to all the leaseholders.
How about
Usually
if
it's
you
to-
discharge into this public sewer before April 15th or
Until,
at the opening of, or the opening of the system, whichever is
sooner,
sooner?
yeah, or until the opening of the system, whichever is sooner. April
So
15th.
changing it,
Or after November 1st?
persons may only discharge.
No person shall discharge any substance into the public sewer before April 15th or until the system is operational. Or until the system,
Okay, let's have another one. What happens if the pump burns? You can't discharge any substance into the public sewer on or before April 15th or after October 31st or any time the system is inoperable.
It does.
perfect.
Well, that could happen for any roof. It might not be ice, it might be a,
Well, and, yeah, we haven't had it, but you
System
also could have a
function.
really cold fall and have to shut down early
okay.
too.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to stop here, guys.
Inoperable. Okay, so then it's just the two dates and at the end or any time the system is inoperable.
Yep.
Perfect.
I'm going to strike 508 and leave 509, and we'll start with 601 next time.
Okay, strike 508.
That's all wash machine stuff that we're going to allow.
Yeah,
And leave 509. Can't have garbage disposals.
okay, and then we're done. Then we can go to start with section
6 next
6
time.
at the next time. Okay, that's good. Good progress.
Send you an updated one.
So we want to put an hour on in our May 14th meeting? Okay, thank you, guys. Good progress.
Which Carrie won't be here, neither will I.
I'll be here for
No, I'll
Okay.
be gone for the 14th.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There is. I would suggest adding discussion of a real estate negotiation.
An executive session, or?
Yep,
So we'll have an executive session on our issue of real estate?
yep.
Okay. Okay. Public comment? Okay, we're at Select Board updates?
I received an email from Officer Daly that a resident in town had complaints about the amount of patrolling and speeding, the lack of patrolling and the amount of speeding on Mount Philo Road. They did a directed patrol and found on that day that there really was no speeding. We also had data at the last meeting with the state police that signified that there really, the averages did not show that there was excessive speeding, even though that there are cars that speed on every road. And I drafted a response that I replied all, but it turns out it was just to Dean and Matt Daly, so I can forward that to the select board. Just
Do
if
we
people
wanna-
want to know about it.
To the person who has been complaining, I mean, I thought your letter that you emailed to all of us was courteous and explained some, I think it should go to the
I can forward it
to the resident.
Sure,
Do
I
we
can do that too. You know, I
informally through an email? That's fine, or
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I could get his email.
you guys agree? Okay, I think that's good. Anything more on your updates?
Anything about that meeting Thursday, that
Which one?
the Mount Philo
Mount
one
Philo? Oh,
that I missed?
three of us,
Yeah, we should.
four of us or three of us were there. I was there. Bottom line is, the A&R did not offer what I would call interactive discussion with the maybe 100 people who were there. They had stations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go to talk to so-and-so about the trails, you know, so-and-so about ecology, but it wasn't, the emotion of the residents wasn't really recognized. But they will take comments, and you volunteered to put a letter together.
Yes.
We're going to meet May 14th.
Here.
I think we as a select board ought to, I mean, my takeaway is you have recreation, you have ecology, and I think they're really swung over on the ecology and restricting the recreation. No additional parking, none of the parking on the south side where the hut is. They're gonna have 100 parking spots, which are those in blacktop on the top or the gravel area on the bottom. They're gonna ask the town to put up no parking signs and manage the parking for them. I think to me, it's a little swung over a little too far.
We'll do that for $5,000 a weekend.
I had a good chance at the end to talk with the director of the state parks.
Mr. Whipple?
Craig Whipple, yeah.
Yep.
He explained two things to me. One was the funding structure, which I didn't really understand about the state park system. They have two revenue streams. So one is their annual appropriation that is done with the legislature. And so they come up with a budget that they request, and that's mostly for operational things. Things like increasing parking is stuff they have to plan for with a capital budget, which the state bonds annually for different capital projects. The operational revenue is $55 million they have to, $10 million they have to spread out between 55 state parks. But the capital budget can be basically tailored upon the will of the legislature to any state park. This is by far the most popular state park, and he thought, given a good proposal, the legislature would see that it would be worth investing from a capital budget into improving both more trails to protect the ecology and even more parking. He was also, I basically said something similar to you. He said, what reservations do you have? I said, it really seems like the new long-range management plan's theme is about protectionism versus embracing the demand of using the state lands for the public. We have a state park that people want to go to. That's something that the state should figure out how to accommodate. And I think it's a great opportunity for education and to use the state park as a pilot in figuring out how to deal with demand rather than trying to restrict demand and not having school buses of kids learn about state lands and nature on such a dense kind of site where it's really easy to access a lot of different environments.
This is not a new concept. I mean, the federal parks have been struggling with this for 20 years. It's not like there isn't stuff out there, good ideas, things that have worked in federal parks, things that don't. I can't.
There's a lot. So he was really receptive, and he said probably the most effective thing, both in the process that the state parks goes through and to bring a case for larger capital expenditures to the legislature, it would be to have a letter that was cohesive from as many people as possible. What's hard at these meetings, the one at Kingsland Bay and this one, when it comes to public comment and input, is they do get a broad range of inputs and they have a hard time weighting them when they go to make decisions. And I think that was apparent in what did get into the draft plan. So we have until June 1st. I was hoping, like you said, that we could have a select board meeting, hopefully get it on Front Porch Forum, get a really big meeting here with as many residents, and then from there, I could put together a letter and send it out via email, have it available for signatures, and see if we can get a few hundred signatures. I think that would be...
Come from other parts of the state to visit it too. I wouldn't include just comments from Charlotte, but Shelburne, Burlington, South Burlington.
Actually, one of the rangers said to me, well, you could just, have a copy of the letter at the entrance of the state park. Everyone who goes to visit could sign it. That would be thousands of people.
That's true. That's true. We have like a petition,
Yeah.
like a petition.
And that would really have a lot of weight, he said.
I think we
You know
almost,
how easy we could do that at the store? I had like 3 people today that stopped at the store, going to the mountain, or had been there just today.
I think we have enough consensus
I could,
in what you've said to me over the last couple of weeks and your comments. I think we could put, I'd like to see a draft.
Okay.
I mean, what you've just said are really good words. And then go over that draft and then make it in the form of
a petition.
and then, prepared by select board and the additional pages supported by community
Residents,
members. But
community
it doesn't have to be Charlotte, because
Yeah.
it's not a Charlotte park,
No,
it's a state park.
yeah.
But I think that would be good. And then, I'd stand by Mount Philo, everybody take a little time and, hour here, hour there, and
Yeah.
stop people, because on weekends, you can get hundreds of signatures.
Cool. This would be fun. So when should I?
I'd say if you had a good draft by we meet May 14th.
Okay.
And if you want to send it out to any of us for inputs but I think you captured it. The other thing you didn't say is they're going to require permits for the school kids that are in buses. There's some examples of restrictiveness, the parking, requiring permits, and then parking on the street, they want that eliminated. There's a bunch of examples of these restrictions that I think ought to be of concern in this draft letter.
One recommendation I also put, one of the big issues is the leash issue and dogs off leash running through sensitive woodlands that don't have a lot of soil retention, and there's not a thick turf of grass there. One idea I had is if they had a fenced-in area near the parking lot for a dog park, and people bring their dogs to socialize with other dogs there. They could do that off leash in a fenced-in area. There's no dog park between Shelburne and Virgins, and then
Control dogs and the more
yeah,
tempered dogs.
right. And then they'd be
different,
more apt if they go for a hike up the mountain to actually keep them on leash, because the dogs are tired. And they don't need to run
And
around.
that is the rule, they need to be on a leash.
It is. Right.
Right.
It is the state park.
I
rule.
said that to him, I spoke of that needs to be enforced. I don't think we'd have the problem that we have, some of the problems, if they had been leashed.
So I'll shoot for May 1st to get a draft to people, so I have time for comments.
Okay, some more updates. I'm traveling between now and the next meeting. Do we want to authorize through a motion have Matt sign, or, you're not available all the time. I mean, are you more available? Mary says you're in,
I'm out of the town from the 10th to the 20th of May.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'll come in before hours.
Yeah, just do it.
Before
I
I
mean,
head into town.
I don't think we need any special, do you want a special authorization? Are you okay? Or do you want a motion?
This is you'll be here for the next meeting, so this is just.
I'll be here, I'm coming back on the 13th, our next meeting is the 14th.
So payroll.
So you'll make sure you do payroll.
Yeah.
You all right with that? Okay. Nothing more on mailbox issues, everything's settled there?
No mailbox issues. I had two, well, I'm not sure if anyone's here for that. I had two items which I commented on in the notes. One is the appointment to the Conservation Commission last meeting was accidentally for the wrong vacancy, so it's for the vacancy created by Mike Kirk, which is till 2020 instead of 2022. And that was for Kevin Burgett. The other is just the updated cost of the server, which you approved in January. Mary pointed out the request for proposals received the cost of the contractor, not the cost of the actual server. That said, it's gone up by about $700 since you approved it in January, so I don't know if that's an issue or not. It does need to be, in order to be in this fiscal year, the order needs to be put in basically fairly soon, probably by the end of this week.
We've made a motion, you had in your email a particular date that we approved buying the hardware, right?
You did on January 16th.
Okay.
And the price went up basically 10% on the hardware. $7,000 and you said about 700. It's gone up.
700 out of about 9,000.
Oh, that's include. Oh, okay. That's the software and the hardware.
Yep.
Okay. Christina?
So it makes perfect sense that the company that does our IT is also the same company that we do the server. Now, I'm questioning the contract is up with SimQuest here pretty soon for their IT service. And seeing that we didn't really get a quote for hardware from any of the others, is there an intention to put our IT service out to bid? I mean, we've had them for a year. We still have problems that aren't resolved. They are super expensive. And if we are going to put it out for bid, we need to make that known to them quickly because they have an automatic renewal in their contract that you sign if you don't notify them in a certain amount of days. And if we are going to put the IT services out for bid, maybe we bump putting the server off for a little bit because we don't want to buy a server from SimQuest and then find a different IT company, and that IT company says, well, hey, I was bid on this server. So, I mean, there's lots of things that kind of play in here. We've only had SimQuest for not even a year, and, I mean, maybe, just maybe, we put IT service back out for a bid.
Let me give you another option. So we spent the last year or so talking about this, the cloud versus new hardware here. Went through the process. We voted on the SimQuest hardware installed here. I thought we talked about it at a previous meeting. Because of what you just said, renew the SimQuest IT contract for another year, so you have those who, the company that installed it, SimQuest, their IT guys will be here to make sure it's operational. So I would say 12 months from now, we can go out for bids. But I think we're gonna stall the process.
Have you polled the people that actually work in the building to see how many are actually acceptable to SimQuest and how many are not?
Well, I thought you were all been a part of the discussion for months. I thought we were slowly making progress.
If you put a poll out, I would put money on it that you're going to find that Town Hall is split at best and not for SimQuest. So that comes to you guys who make that decision. Do we continue or do we put it out for bid?
Well, we've already made the decision to buy the hardware.
Without seeing a quote from anybody else for hardware.
I don't know the answer, can't remember.
You have it. He presented all that information in an email today, and there was no quote for hardware from any of the other IT companies. So that violates the purchasing policy. When it's a $7,000 purchase of hardware.
So, Dean, any comments or?
I think for there are really two issues, the network support and the purchase of the server. The network support, we were in a meeting last week, and it seemed like issues were getting close to being resolved.
Still haven't gotten any farther. And that was 2 weeks ago.
We have had other vendors, contractors in the past, and haven't really been particularly happy with them. We received 4 quotes for network support. SimQuest was not, I think they were on a par with the others. I don't think they were significantly higher. They have excellent references where, where we've checked. So I have to say, I think we should go with them for the year and go out to bid next year.
So is there any action required now? I mean, we've already voted to get the hardware.
You did, yeah.
Now this discussion is, do we want to go out for bids for a IT support, or do we accept them for another year? Is that the issue?
Well, it was an update. It was a price update. They did finalize their quote. The original quote was back in October, so it's been 6 months. And this is the final quote to actually sign the document.
For the hardware or for tech support?
Hardware and software, and installation.
Does that include a year of tech support?
No, that's a separate document that you've already approved. Well, no, it does renew in July.
But you
So,
have to give them 60 days notice that you do not plan on renewing it, or it automatically renews, whether or not you vote and sign on it or not. So we're coming up on that time frame pretty close.
So what's the pleasure of the board here?
Is this SimQuest, this isn't SimQuest hardware.
No.
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 It's what, like,
They've got the list of their equipment. So the money is in the budget that ends July 1st, right?
That's correct.
A small amount.
And there's also the larger amount that's in the following year budget, so.
Well, I don't know exactly what the dates are, but it seems like if at the next meeting, we can invite SimQuest to talk about their pricing and what that entails, and anyone would like to see better service has the opportunity to come to that meeting.
Can I have another company come in?
Well, I think that if SimQuest could do that, we have a contract with them, that would give me the ability to decide if I want to see other companies quote on replacing the hardware. And
we agreed on SimQuest, but then we just accepted their hardware price. We didn't really
Right.
send it out for bids, the hardware.
now, sometimes service companies, I guess the best comparison is if you go to a car dealership, the price you get for a catalytic converter kind of includes the service it takes to install it.
Yeah.
So this price that we're getting here, I'd like to talk to SimQuest about, because I know that I just did some shopping. I know that hardware is less expensive in other places, but I don't know what that unit price is actually. They're extending us a price and a unit price just like a dealership would. So I'd like to just ask them how they arrived at these numbers. from those answers, I'd be able to, and their explanations of the service side of things, and have a more informed decision about how to move forward.
The service side of things is they're working on it. They've been working on it for 4 months.
Yeah, but we haven't had a chance to really
Okay.
hold their feet to the fire.
I agree with you. I think we ought to, I mean, we put all our efforts in the SimQuest because we've reviewed this for well over a year.
Yeah.
We've had them in, I've met with them 2 or 3 times.
And we did an exhaustive kind of discussion on cloud services versus
Right.
server, and we know, and it seems
We're
like
gonna do
everyone in
server.
town hall agrees, we
Server.
want on-site server. Now it's just, do we want to continue with SimQuest or think about going out to bid again? Do we have room on the schedule for,
Well, with the point that Christina's bringing up, it automatically renews. So we meet in mid-May, we're into the fiscal year start. It's less than 60 days.
May 14th?
June 14th, July 14th, right?
Yeah, so we'd have to meet,
Well, I'm
April
pretty sure
30th.
it's 60, but you just have to notify them that you're going to
Oh,
be putting it
so
out
it's
for
just a
bid, so
monthly-
it doesn't automatically
Okay,
renew.
then that problem goes away.
If you don't notify them, then the contract automatically renews. If you notify them that you're going to be putting the
Gotcha.
IT service out to bid, then they know that the contract's going to terminate July 1st or whatever.
It doesn't have to be July 1st, as long as we give them 60 days notice. So then we can proceed. So the only problem is, this is going to take some discussion. Do you want to pick another day? And, I mean, we're going to be busy working on the ordinance,
it's a full meeting to 9.
and it's a full meeting. Is there another afternoon or something? Did you guys say you're out of town in May, or
I am for
I am going.
10,
what, to the, beyond the 14th, after the 14th? Will you be,
I'm missing the 14th.
are you,
I'm
what
the
about,
10th through the 20th. I'll be gone.
I do see,
It'd have to be in the beginning of May then.
the 7:45 agenda item is Mount Philo State Park. We've
Yeah.
allotted 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But based on what we just discussed, we might need 5 minutes.
I think you're probably going to do longer than 5 minutes.
I think it's going to take longer than 5 minutes too, yeah.
45?
I don't have my, if you think we can fit it in, let's try.
Well, I mean, this is just to tell SimQuest that we're gonna put it out to bid, so we may not renew the contract. It doesn't mean that we couldn't renew the contract anyways, or keep it going. This is just to get out of the 60-day notice.
Right.
To me, what this is really doing is, hey, SimQuest, folks in the office aren't happy. We've already made a decision, we want your server, we voted on it, we're not happy with the tech support. So really what we're saying is, come on in, try to solve the problems between now and the next meeting so that office folks are satisfied, or we're gonna be forced to,
Yeah, and explain the pricing on the hardware.
Yep.
I'd be
But
nice to
that
have
should be
that.
too late if you're on renewing the contract.
well, what Christina said, I'm not familiar with it. She just says you have to just give them 60 days notice anytime. It's not a fiscal year, if that's what I heard you say. I mean, just give them 60 days notice if we're going to terminate.
Well, I think the thing was a 60-day notice to stop the automatic renewal.
It's from when you signed it, Lane.
Was it renew for a 12-month period, or is it just renew?
It renews for a 12-month period.
I mean, I'm sure there's a clause in there that says you can terminate it within 60 days or something like that too, but I mean,
We should, as a side note, never sign anything that has an automatic renewal. It's a select board.
I do think there's a risk in putting out the server purchase decision too far. I mean, you've already made the decision, but signing the document and that A, it's not going to be in this fiscal year, and B, our warranty is already past its expiration, and we're already, I think, experiencing some issues that will get worse as time goes on.
Oh, because they're trying to get the current system
Our system is
out of date.
Yeah.
Warranty's gone, but that's what they're working on, right?
That's what they're working on, and that's what they're proposing to replace.
Right. I mean,
Well, there's two issues. A, their lack of performance, and if just don't approve their check for a month or two. That usually gets their attention. The other issue is the pricing of the servers. We never actually,
Shop around. I mean, in between now and that May 14th, I could
Fine.
go to a couple computer services place and say, hey, see these, you know, I could cross out SimQuest and say, hey,
how much does this stuff cost?
yeah. 'Cause it's just hardware. I mean, Amazon just tells me what it is to ship it here, and it's,
So we're still going to run up against a 12-month renewal after May 1st.
July 11th, it says 30 days, so I did find it's not 60 days, it says 30 days, and it says after execution, SimQuest contract, the term, blah, 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 for a period of 12 months, and shall automatically renew thereafter for consecutive one-year periods unless SimQuest or client provides 30 days prior written notice of non-renewal. And you signed it on July 11th.
Okay,
so we have time.
we have
So we have
time.
to provide them written notice.
So I think the important thing is to get their technicians in here to satisfy those people that use the equipment, I guess, Dean.
And then have them, so it might only be a 15-minute agenda item with SimQuest on the
Yep.
14th.
Okay.
It seems like be longer than that.
I think we gotta try to squeeze it in. The next, everybody done with updates? The orthodontic rider, do we need a motion to approve that?
Yes.
For our health benefit, it's in the notes.
You approved the budget for FY '19 starting July 1st, but you haven't approved the actual coverage. So there's only one coverage that offers, or one option that offers coverage to adults, which is option D, and that is about $500 a year, which you budgeted.
Okay, so what we need is, we've already put it in the budget. We're looking for a motion to approve orthodontic option D, like in Delta, right?
Yep.
Okay, is there a motion from the,
I'll make a motion to approve orthodontic option D from Northeast Delta Dental. Effective, I don't know, January 1st.
is that seconded?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Oh, the equipment grant application, this is for the desks.
Yep. Christina, do you want to explain it? Or?
I'm looking to get a Veridesk,
Yep.
and I need, the equipment grant pays for half, so I need you guys to sign off. I've provided the documents, filled out the grant paperwork, provided the quotes from WB Mason. It needed to meet 200, well, the grant had to be $200 or more, so I added on the mat to go with it, just to put it over $400. And you guys sign off on it, I submit it. If we get the grant, they pay for half. We already put the money in our budget, the town clerk's office did.
We get chairs on this grant.
Can we have 5 chairs with that grant?
I don't know, you guys have been working on that for a while too.
Okay, that's for one desk, Veridesk, one.
Yep.
Is there a motion from the board to approve this grant application?
Motion to approve the 2018 grant application for the Veridesk and the Verimat.
The grant application is $435.
For $435 to be signed by the chairman.
Okay,
Second?
any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The James Moody, 313 Churchill Road, request to extend the fence. Who wants to walk us through that? Right, the Moody's here?
They are.
Okay.
Jim, do you want to?
Do you want to say a few words?
You guys
Your application's great.
Thanks. Yeah, so my name's Jim Moody. I'm at 313 Churchill Road, and I bought the house in October, so happy to be a Charlotte resident. Lived in Moncton for 25 years, so some of this stuff is new to me. So the idea is that when I bought the house, there's a 82-foot existing fence, cedar fence that goes, the dimensions are on the application. It's, they're 10 feet high, and there's a gap. They put, even though they put the post 10 feet high, the sections of the fence that are on top of the post don't go all the way to the ground. There's about a 32-foot gap. So my request is
32-inch gap.
30. What did I say? Feet. So my request is to close that gap, and then there's another new section to extend it 76 inches on one side of the driveway. That is between the driveway and the existing fence, and then on the other side, put a small 50-inch kind of sister post and fence, and then put a gate on, because, there are several concerns. One is that we have dogs, so the existing fence does us no good, because they can just run right under. So we have a snow fence there temporarily, and not mice, but rabbits have eaten holes through it and stuff, so it's not super safe. And then, so the dog safety is one thing, and then, our sight line to the town garage, and then our neighbors also have a business out of their house, I guess, and they park next door. So that sight line, I don't know if I include a picture of that, but the sight line just has, there's door slamming, and cars going, and engines running, and diesel, and just people kind of, generally going to work and leaving their cars. So that's the request.
Folks over there, Junior here? Any issues with the,
No, the only issue that I had was that I wanted to make sure that they knew that if they put the fence up, that the town was not responsible if there was any damage to the fence from snow. In the past few years, we haven't had much snow, but, one of these years we'll probably get some snow where it might stay around from one storm to the next, and just didn't want to have the town responsible for the repair of the fence.
well, it's set back a bit, and there are bushes on front of it, right?
Correct, but if they close it all the way to the bottom, and it's a solid fence, so there would be no way for snow to go through. So, as the fence gets older, the posts tend to rot off at ground level. So that's my only concern, is just that we're not responsible for it.
Yeah, I accept that. We're not going to be going after anyone for damage to the fence. Also, on the form, I have a 7 feet from the side of the road to the existing fence, and it's actually 14 feet. So it's much further away, and there's a pretty big, gully and a culvert, and then there's, pretty huge bushes that were, so. And then we also want to, we're doing this to improve the, property value as well. One of the reasons why, when I bought the house, I'm sure it would be worth more if it wasn't across from the, where it is. So we're just looking to, try to improve the value of the house as well. And we're doing tons of improvements also within the house, so.
Why does this come before the select board?
It's
Procedurally?
It's a modification to an existing permit.
Well, it's within the right of way. Since it's within the right of way, the select board has to approve it.
Just like a curb cut.
Right.
And there's no cross jurisdiction with a permitted or conditional use?
That's, well, there is. It needs a zoning permit.
There is. It needs a zoning
separate
permit,
part of
and what happened in 2007 is the previous owner got approval for the fence. There are differences in the approval in the select board's minutes and on the application. Both talk about a 6-foot fence with a 2-foot opening on the bottom. And the permit that was issued was for a 10-foot tall fence.
Who signed that permit?
Tom Mansfield.
2007.
In 2007, but in the select board minutes, it talked about a 6 foot and a fence that was 8 foot with 6 foot,
And 2 feet
with
off the
panels
ground.
of 6 feet in height and a 2 foot gap from the ground. And on the back of their permit application from Hawk Creek Fence Company stated that it was the same, but the permit was written out for a 10-foot fence.
Okay, but that was approved at that time.
Right, sure. And that's
So
all.
are you okay with, Frank, and what's being suggested here?
Yeah, the only thing I noticed at the site visit was that the new portion of fence was higher than the existing fence.
Yeah, well, so someone came by and notified me that I needed a permit, so I stopped what I was doing. That's gonna get cut. Actually, it's gonna, if you look at its stages
It steps
down, and I was gonna step it down, but I just stopped because I, didn't have a permit,
Yeah.
so.
Just
Yeah,
an
no, it's in-
observation.
so it's
Just an
not the middle.
observation. I
Yeah,
didn't-
it's definitely gonna be lower.
I didn't say you were done.
Yeah, right.
And the only other question I had was that on the most part, things that are within the side yard setback, it's like a 50-foot setback, but this is within the right-of-way, so if it doesn't need, I don't know if it would need zoning board approval or not. I don't believe so.
The zoning administrator will look at that. I think he has, but he'll rule on whether.
Right,
Yeah.
and the zoning administrator will rule on that. And just because, there's always that question when things are so close, built so close to a boundary line. To actually know where the boundary line is.
It looks like everything that's new is coming further away than the existing hedgerow that runs north-south here. That's the first new part, and even though this is right on that boundary line,
Right,
this is moving away
well, there's two, well, yeah, but there's nothing moving away
from the neighbor, not from the right-of-way.
from the neighbor.
Right. As far as that,
On the right-of-way,
50 foot.
there's nothing moving back from the right-of-way, from what I understand. I mean, there is a small split rail fence.
or the 2 jogs going into the driveway, but, so that they'll attach the gate to.
The gate is flush with the fence.
There's no gate now.
No, but the gate is going to be
Yeah.
flush with the fence, it's not
Yes.
gonna be set in.
Yeah, right, it's not setting back. I mean, I haven't decided whether to do a slide or a swing.
Right, but it's going to be flush with the fence.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not gonna be any further,
Right, I mean,
Away
for some people that
closer
have a
to-
fence that's close to the road, they inset it into their lot more so that they have room to get their car in.
Or for snowbank.
Or for snow or
Yeah.
whatever,
yeah.
but that's fine.
And this doesn't, I don't see a formal permit number or application number. This
He's
is-
waiting
We have
for
to
this
approve it
review.
first.
So this is a request that we would be approving?
You're requesting to allow the fence in the road right away, and then the zoning permit will be acted upon.
And the same thing happens with the zoning board on a conditional use approval. Usually we have a conditional use approval, and then they have to apply for a permit, so then they get a permit.
Got it.
So they
How
have
do you
to,
identify the piece of paper just by the property?
I'll make a motion to approve the request from James Moody at 313 Churchill Road to extend the fence within the town highway right-of-way as presented at the Select Board meeting, April 23rd, 2018.
Seconded? Any discussion, any more comments from anybody?
Do you want to be clear, just in the minutes, that the select board and the road commissioner are not liable for any damage to the fence?
That's in the minutes. Yep.
Yep.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks. Paving bids?
There are 3 bids. When was that brought in? There are 5 bids.
So when we said at our last meeting, the objective is to open these, and Junior, you're going to give us your recommendation, and we could hopefully make a decision tonight. So the first one we're opening is Pike. The hot mix, so it's just the hot mix asphalt price per ton, right? That's all that's key here.
Correct, other than I think one of them might have had type 4 versus type 3, I just want to make sure that they're all the same, I don't know if they are or not.
This one, I don't see any distinguishing, it's just they filled our form. This is Pike, and it's $57.90 per ton. The next one is Whitcomb. Whitcomb is $63.93 per ton. They don't distinguish between grade 3 or 4. The next one is D&F Excavating, Middlebury. D&F Excavating is $62 even per ton. That's 3, there's 2 more. J. Hutchins, Richmond, Vermont. J. Hutchins, $63.50 per ton. And the last one is SD Ireland. And SD Ireland is $63.80 a ton. So the lowest is Pike Industry at $57.90. Do you want to take a look at these, Junior, and get back to us in a few minutes, or what's your?
No, I think they're okay. I mean, I think we should get it to Pike, and they're definitely way lower than anybody else. I mean, I had complaints about the last time they were here 2 years ago, but I talked to Mike there, the guy that met with me, and he assured me that that wouldn't happen this year. So I think because they are, that much cheaper per ton, we will get more road, be able to get more paved. So I'm going to give them another shot at it, Pike and.
Yes. The only thing I have to say is we'd definitely be paving in May.
You pave for Charlotte in May. So our objective is to be done around 1st of July, right?
Before July 1.
So is there a motion to approve Pike Industries at this rate?
So, motion to approve Pike Industries for the paving contract at $57.90 per ton.
Second.
Any other comments? Anybody? Questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You want these for the record, Dean? So they don't get lost in the... Interviews.
A lot of people here for interviews. These tend to go quickly. We all like to recognize you, see who's here. First one is Energy Committee. Ethan Lisley? Okay. Oh, you're the high school student that, okay. Come with chaperone, huh? Ethan, so this is Energy Committee.
Yeah.
Tell us just a minute or two about yourself and why you'd like to do this.
Well, my name's Ethan Lyle, and I'm a 9th grader at CVU. Recently, I was elected co-president of the Environmental Action Club at CVU, and I think that if I was part of the Energy Committee here, it would be a nice way to connect what we're doing at the high school level to what we're doing at a community level here in Charlotte. And I don't know, I've really felt that keeping the environment safe and like being really energy conscious is a big part of like everyone's life, and I think that learning about it through this committee, because I don't think I'd be a very like full-on member like at the beginning, but like I would sure love to watch all these people work and someday probably like try to do what they're doing. So
Well, thank you for coming forward and volunteering. We appreciate it. It's nice to get some young blood involved in this. Hopefully you'll be around and as you grow up and carry out what you learn here in this location or others. Are there any questions from anybody? Is there a motion?
I have a question first,
Yep.
which is, Dean let me know that usually the student has a one-year term,
Yep.
but considering the fact that Ethan is going to be a sophomore, he expects to be with our committee for probably the full 3 years. So I was wondering if it might be easier just to give him a 2-year term like the rest of our committee has. That would save us going through this one additional time.
not
Okay.
that I wouldn't love to do this again next year.
Okay, that sounds like a good suggestion. Is there a motion from someone? And that year would be ending in 2020 then, right?
Why does it say September?
September 1?
Usually it goes through the summer, so that in the fall, there's a new student, perhaps a freshman or another body, another class rather, that would be, start in the fall.
So a school year
Right.
sort of thing. Okay.
Make a motion to appoint Ethan Lyle to the Energy Committee as a student member for a term ending September 1, 2020.
Any other comments or questions?
I just want to thank you for your participation, and the Energy Committee is both very welcoming and full of institutional knowledge from a lot of different parts of the energy field, so I think you'll find it really interesting.
And we're excited to have his perspective and work from the school. Yeah, thank you very much.
So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Yes.
Congratulations. Thank you. John Limonek. Trails Committee. Okay, so you're a renewal.
Yes.
Um,
The old blood.
The old blood, 2-year term ending 2020. Want to say a few words about how things are going or comments you'd like to make?
I guess I'd like to say that, things were going well for a while. I think we made some good progress on the Town Link Trail. Things kind of slowed down last year with the whole situation with State Park Road and not getting that underway. So we would like to continue with that. And I think the thought maybe this year is that we'll apply for a grant from the Parks and Rec, Vermont Parks and Rec, which is more of a, it's a lower grade type of trail, so it won't be quite the trail that VTrans that we're looking at there. And we're hoping that maybe that'll be something that'll fit better with that space. So that's probably one of our main objectives. We'd also like to see if we could make some progress looking at, and I'm not sure who would do it and who would be authorized to do it, but to look at getting some, or working at least on some of the easements, trying to go north from co-housing up to the town hall here. Yeah. So that would be, those are the two things that are kind of on the, front of our list. And we're planning to do a little celebration for the underpass, the opening of that. So we want to do that sometime in late June or early July.
Is that something you'll be advertising from Porch Forum?
Yeah, that's what we would do. And, it would be something like what we did before when we did the co-housing trail. And we opened that, and we just had a little barbecue, and some, people brought things to eat, and, just something to kind of acknowledge that and gets a little publicity so people know that it's open and it's available.
Sounds good. I think your priorities are in line with what we've been talking about for the last year, so that's great.
Okay.
So John, we're starting an after-school walking club with the kids.
Yeah.
It'll start May 10th, and there's a schedule. We haven't put it out for the public yet, but that'll happen within probably the early part of next week.
Yeah, and we have a new perspective.
Yep, the schedule will look really fun, and I'm sort of the cheerleader, and I'll talk about it when I can to people. I'll participate, but somebody else and Nicole are really doing the organization of it. It's great.
Okay, well, that sounds good.
It's really fun.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Fun.
There are a lot of good trails in Charlotte, so that should be good.
Is there a motion for reappointment?
Make a motion to reappoint John Liminek to the Trails Committee for a 2-year term ending April 30, 2020.
Any second? Any comments?
I just wanted to know, have you met Frank Kenny before, John?
I've seen you around here quite a bit.
Because that was part of the reason why I like to have these
Right, so you
yearly,
get to
or,
kind of know each other.
get to
Yeah.
see each other's face and
That is good.
smile and say, oh, thanks a lot.
Thank you for volunteering again.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
You're in.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
John Quinney? This is Energy. So you're up for renewal. You're a renewal, right?
That's correct, yes.
You want to say a couple words about what's happening?
Yeah, I've been out of the country for the last 3 months, so I'm a bit out of touch. But I did attend a half-day meeting of the Energy Committee back in January when we worked on setting priorities for the committee over the next year, because there was some concern felt that we were responding to whatever happened to come up, and that tended to dissipate our energy, which is perhaps not such a good idea for an energy committee. But so the result of that was, some priorities that were established by the committee. So within that context, what I'm interested in doing is working more on outreach so that people in the town are better informed about energy issues and the way in which they're being, addressed by the Energy Committee. And I'm also interested in becoming more familiar with the Community Energy Dashboard and making more residents of Charlotte aware of the dashboard and the ways in which it can make visible the efforts that are going on in the town to help get us towards the state goal of 90% renewable by 2050.
Sounds good. Any other comments? Motion?
I'll make a motion to reappoint John Quinney to the Energy Committee for a 2-year term ending April 30, 2020.
Thank you for volunteering.
I'll second.
Continuing. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jim Hyde, wastewater, Charlotte Wastewater Committee.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jim Hyde. I'm up for renewal for a 2-year term for 2020. I joined the West Charlotte Wastewater Committee a year ago, and I joined it as somebody very interested in drinking water. Most of my career as a public health person has been in and around drinking water issues. And as you all know, it's a huge challenge keeping water safe and keeping our aquifers clear. And obviously there's an incredible interdependence between how we deal with wastewater and how we deal with drinking water. So I was really interested in being on this committee, although not really an expert in wastewater per se. I sort of think of my role as like the kid in the Emperor's New Clothes, pointing my finger and saying, but wait, why do we have to do it this way? But I guess what I would say is I've been incredibly impressed over the last year by the quality of the leadership on that committee. Dave Marshall is a resource that this town is lucky to have, and he runs a solid meeting. We're carefully going through the process of creating 2 ordinances, one on allocation and one on connection. And those will come before the Select Board. My guess would be in the next couple of months, probably will be done. And then it'll be up to you as a Select Board to take a look at those and vote on those. But I can tell you that I've been impressed with the process, and I'm happy to serve.
Thank you. Appreciate your volunteering and all the work you do around the community at large. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to reappoint Jim Hyde to the West Charlotte Wastewater Advisory Committee for a 2-year term ending April of 2020.
Second.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
You've
you.
been volunteered again. Thank you.
Dick?
Dick? Planning Commission again, right?
Right. Good evening.
Give us a couple words. How are things going? This is what, your second year, or?
Well, it's it was a partial term to begin with, so I'm still getting acclimated. I think I understand what's happening now. We've gotten through the rewriting of the town plan, which was a nice thing to have behind us. And I've been enjoying the work and would like to continue.
Good. You meet monthly or more often than that? now?
Twice a month.
Twice a month?
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion. Actually, I've just made a policy.
What was that? Dick Eastman?
Well, I recuse myself from appointments to the Planning Commission. My family has an
Oh, because you
obligation.
haven't, okay.
before the board.
Is there another?
I'll make a motion to approve Dick Eastman for the Planning Commission for a 4-year term ending April 30th, 2022.
I'll second.
Any other comments? Thank you for your volunteering. All in favor, say aye.
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 You're in.
Thank you.
4 more years. Wow.
Such a deal.
I don't see Dave Kenyon here, so Dirk will be next.
Okay. Conservation Commission, Derek.
Okay.
Good, let me just take a look here. So are you a new appointment, Dick? Oh, I erased you because so who was the person?
On paper.
Mike Kirk is the one who did
Okay.
resign and is
Okay.
replaced by Kevin Burgett.
Okay, got it.
Dirk is up for reappointment.
So you're unerased. So Derek, why would you like to continue?
Well, I don't know, for those who don't know me, I've got an academic and professional background in ecology, environmental science, and natural resource management. And I think I've been on the commission for about 3 years, or you were on the commission when I was
At least 4 years.
appointed, so maybe 4 years? Wow. Yeah, my first meeting was the kind of beginning of the rebuilding of the commission. So it's taken all that time, I think, to kind of get the commission refocused on what we want to do. And, I was a bit of an observer for quite a while, just trying to wrap my head around everything. And, now we've got, I recently led the commission through building of a conceptual model of
conservation targets for the town and the direct threats to those targets, and we're starting to kind of structure our activities around what we found through that exercise. So we're kind of at a kind of exciting moment right now in terms of reprioritizing our activities. And yeah, I'd like to see that on through.
Any other comments? Go ahead.
Well, I was, Matt, President of the Selectboard, I was really impressed at the joint meeting with the Trails Committee and the Conservation Commission. It was the first time I really saw natural crossover and cross-pollination happen between committees. And I was just really impressed with the discussion that conservation brought to the kind of asset that the town has in building out these trails, of having the opportunity for conservation to work with trails for education, educational opportunities. So that as people are walking the trails, they can identify what they're walking through, and also seeing the opportunity to mitigate the spread of invasives and other conservation efforts. So it's really neat to see that happening at the build out rather than kind of reactively or proactively. So
Yeah, I mean, we really appreciate what the Trails Committee's doing, because if people don't have the connection to the landscape, they're not going to be interested in preserving that landscape. So, it's important for people to be able to get out and experience, our environments.
Like to make a motion?
yeah, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Dirk Bergquist to the Conservation Commission for a 4-year term ending April 30, 2022.
Okay, second. Any comments? Anything else to say?
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate your support in the town. That's it for those, Rick, Dean, that's everything?
That's it, yeah, David Kenyon, what is not here tonight unless he comes in later.
Okay. Charlotte Housing Trust Grant Program.
So when you started talking about your work plan for this year, you indicated that you wanted to take a look at the grant program primarily, I think, in response to or at the request of Nancy Wood at town meeting, indicated that there's money in the fund and it hasn't been active. The fund hasn't been active. The grant program, for a few years hasn't been active. And in talking with some residents, I found there's interest in the fund, but maybe not as it currently exists. So anyway, I didn't know if you wanted to go through the actual process for the grant making process, or if you want to step back and take a big look at it, or how you want to proceed.
There are audience members here, I assume, that want to input to us. So you've updated in your handout to us what happened at town meeting to see if we could kind of reactivate, make the funds more available, make the program open, maybe reestablish the committee. We don't have a current committee, right?
That's right.
And the bottom line is what's the balance in the account right now?
It's about 139,000.
139,000. There's a summary of the money that's been utilized over the last few years. The last one is fiscal year 13. So, then there's more on the second page. These are disbursements. These are deposits of 220. The disbursements 2008 through 2017. A balance 139,000. Okay. Comments from the audience that have shown an interest in this?
Let me just ask whoever does talk. The microphones are for VCAM, they're not for amplification, so they help the rebroadcast of the show to have people understand what's said.
comments?
You're cute. On the record.
Please state your name, too.
Yeah, Peter Richardson, Churchill Road. We lived here in Charlotte for 14 years, and I was involved with the Affordable Housing Committee from its inception, and then we had the bad judgment to move to South Burlington for 5 years, and the good judgment to return 3 years ago. So my tenure with affordable housing, major chunks of my background is involved in real estate and specifically in various aspects of affordable housing. I ran Housing Vermont for a few years and have been around the issue some. The fund itself was created out of our committee. The design and the policies behind it did not coincide with my involvement. They were just brewing. We left. At town meeting this year, I was surprised to learn that the committee was moribund. The fund itself has been sitting there with little activity. Afterwards, I contacted Dean and said, "What's going on?" And so he caught me up to date. And it's the same information that you received in your packet. My interest here tonight is if I can throw my body in front of any precipitous action that the board might take to close down the fund or to do something that would gut this resource, which I would hope could be reevaluated and looked at. I think that there are oversights and some flaws in the way the program has been designed. I would encourage a breath be taken, take a look at what's happened, understand better why only really one, maybe two of the target consumers of the fund, which are local property owners who have an interest to convert some aspect of their homes and commit forever to provide affordable housing. That's a big bite. And I think that if, in my judgment, if you poke at that, it will reveal how come the program has not been more successful. The success that has been achieved by the program has involved mission-driven nonprofit housing enterprises in Vermont, of which there are many, and they do terrific work. Perhaps more can be focused in that direction. I don't know what that is. I'm certainly not prepared tonight to make any pitch, but if there is opportunity to spend a month, 2 months, sort of doing some forensic analysis of what has taken place here, maybe the issues can be better illuminated.
So we have our policies and procedures. The last time was updated 2011. You're kind of saying it's out of date, doesn't reflect what the current situation is? Is that what I'm hearing?
I wouldn't say it's out of date. I think that there are reasons contained in those policies and procedures that will illuminate how come the program has not been more successful. Basically what it says is, here's some free money, and if you convert some portion of your house or your property into affordable housing and honor that commitment in perpetuity for short money, that's the goal that we're trying to pursue. And I think that that's the reason it hasn't been more effective and more successful is that that's not an inviting opportunity. So those are my personal opinions. There are other opinions, and there were smart people who were involved in defining those guidelines. So I would suggest sort of re-engaging and saying, okay, let's take a look at this thing and come back to the select board in some reasonable period of time with some revisions if appropriate, or?
So we would need a group of, kind of an ad hoc committee maybe to take a look at this, maybe with some history like yourself. I mean, none of us have been really, we're all newer than the date of this last revision.
Right. I concur with what you just said.
Do you have interest in participating in time?
I think I just stepped in it, so.
Good deal.
Sounds like a committee chair to me.
Sure. So there are 2 or 3 people who have been on, like Nancy Wood, Billy Russell, yourself, have talked about this through Front Porch Forum and in a town meeting. Should we advertise in the or
There might be a few other people here that might have additional comments, I'm wondering.
Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Russell. So I think there's an opportunity here. And first, let's just stop and thank the Planning Commission for sticking with it and getting a town plan passed. And I think that if you were going to direct a committee to look at this, maybe the place to start wouldn't necessarily be with what it's done in the past or what the structure's been in the past, but maybe just take a clean canvas look at it and go to the plan that was passed and the housing demographics section, and there's a lot of good work in there. I would recommend looking there for sort of direction and see if there's a way to adapt the program to what we just expressed as the town's desires for housing in the future. Use the plan we have. That's my suggestion. And dare to be a little bold about, rather than sitting back and offering, it's not a bad thing to offer private folks to come forward with their own ideas and initiatives, but maybe consider having some intention from the town's policy perspective about maybe leveraging this fund. Not to do anything overly dramatic, but to be smart with the money that we have. It's a tidy sum, and we don't have to blow it all in one spot. But with a thoughtful approach over 5 years, we might make some progress towards the affordable housing, senior housing deficit that I think is pretty well documented in town.
So you're saying, and I'm not that familiar with it, in the town plan there's a section that talks about affordable housing?
Yes, the housing and demographics.
That's a place to start.
Yeah, housing and demographics chapter or section of chapter 1. And I think you'll find that the Planning Commission did a great job of pulling together things that were from the prior plan, really, that were sort of lived in different places and weren't maybe strung together, all that, not incoherently, but it was. I think they did nice work on it and spent a lot of time thinking about it, and it's worth a read.
So how do we get started? Like 2 or 3 volunteers that are here?
I guess, Dean, I have a question. We have the Charlotte Housing Trust Fund grant award policies and procedures. I don't see anything that talks about how the committee, what the composition of the committee is, and is there a committee charter that's a separate document?
Yeah, there wasn't really I don't think a charter per se. The committee was formed that created that document and then basically discontinued.
Was it 3 people, 5 people?
Over time, I think it was 5 to 7, and changed a little bit during that time. At one point, I think Carrie was on it.
Early on.
I just noticed that most of the projects were almost like Habitat for Humanity houses and Green and Champlain Housing Trust projects. I'm just looking at it and thinking the $10,000 per housing unit and $30,000 for project construction or whatever. I think you're going to have a hard time finding somebody who wants to, who would comply with the restrictions of an affordable house with that amount of money.
And also looking at this is just feedback for anyone who's going to be part of breathing new life into this disbursement of this fund. The penalty section seemed
15, 25.
yeah, very exhaustive for what's not a large sum of money, and is, it's a here perpetuity, but even 5-10 year benefit, and we're looking at very prescriptive punishments, so.
That's kind of why I got off it's kind of where I lost interest in being on this committee was, wow, why, just didn't seem right to penalize people after a certain amount of time or whatever.
Yeah, for that much money at home equity,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like a big hassle.
Yeah.
Probably, a better approach to financing that.
Are there other more input?
Okay, yes.
I'm speaking from the land conservation group's perspective. In addition to all the other benefits and goals consistent with the town plan that affordable housing has, we get asked about what Charlotte has done for affordable housing every time we go to the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board for a land conservation grant. So lack of activity on the town's part, such as an active committee like this, actually works against us in land conservation as well. So, which affects, our leverage that we can get with those larger town funds. So there's one more twist to why I would recommend that we try to reactivate this committee, work out whatever kinks are in it to make it more effective, because it does not only affect affordable housing, it affects our land conservation efforts as well.
I'm wondering if, Eddie Krasnow, I'm wondering if there's ever been a target number proposed. I don't remember, but I'm not reading everything all the time for the last 10 years, but is there a target number of homes, affordable homes we'd like to have? And does the town have the will to do that? And if they do, then you put it out there and you work towards it in a whole different number of ways to get there. But I guess it's just an open question. I don't even know the answer.
I mean, Habitat has been kind of the leader in our community, hasn't it? I mean, for this type of thing with the houses by the Old Lantern and Albert's Way is.
But has there ever been a number like in 5 years we want 25 units or 40 units, so the schools start filling up again?
I think,
Mike.
Go ahead.
Mike.
Yeah, the old town plan had a holdover target that was, I think when it was revised in 2005, that was something like 21 units. I can't remember the number, but there were some specific quantified targets. And of course, the Regional Planning Commission has an overall target for affordable housing, and it allocates to each town your share of it. I don't know what that number is either, but it's a lot more than what we've ever achieved, for sure. So it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 to 21 units a year for 5 years or something like that. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I can send you that chapter from the prior plan if you want to see it.
Okay.
Sounds like an awful lot of work for a committee.
Nothing worth doing is easy.
So what's the best way to get this committee reactivated? I mean, do you have people, Peter, that you've talked to about this that you could encourage, or should we be advertising, or?
I don't know, I guess I'm a little reluctant to say the first step should be reconstituting the committee. Maybe that makes sense, but my sense is that even on an informal level, an ad hoc assembly of people, and Dean, you've been around this issue long enough, there probably, a small number, fairly small number to say, okay, let's take a look and then come back and make a suggestion about what might be done with the fund and what might be done with the Affordable Housing Committee. I mean, Kate, your point, and I remember, the gateway into a lot of benefits, particularly through the state agency, is what are you doing in affordable housing? And if you're not doing very much, then conservation, that's the baby everybody wants to kiss, but you need to pay attention to these other things. So I'm just not sure that going through the formal reconstitution right now, but to say, okay, let's draw together some people, and I'm happy to participate, and Mike is, you can recruit, I think, and identify some people more informally and say, okay, come back to us in a couple of months and make some suggestions, and then decide whether reconstituting the committee is the smart thing to do.
Although I have somewhat more limited time than I've had in the past, this is an issue that I have a lot of interest in, and I'd love to participate in that informal way and just have a meeting and see what we can come up with for next steps and maybe approach too. That'd be great.
Maybe advertise a meeting here, kind of an open forum, not a warned meeting. I mean,
Just one select board.
and, I'd be certainly interested to learn about the process. Maybe that's a good way of approaching, then see what the interest is, because there have been some vocal people. Be nice to get them here to help guide and.
I'd like to learn. It's a pertinent issue, not just for Charlotte, but the whole state is really working on bringing people back with affordable housing.
Dean, is that something we'd have to comply with the open meeting law?
No, not if it's not a formal committee.
Okay.
If you're not appointed, you don't have to apply. You don't have to.
It's just talk.
Yeah, so maybe if you guys could leave email with Dean, we could set up an email chain and come up with a time to meet.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, key us in, key the rest of us in, and see how it's developing, and see what.
Just so I don't miss anyone in this room, I assume Peter, Michael, Kate may be interested. Is anyone else? All right. Is anyone else interested in this topic that's here? Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so I guess we're saying that we get some emails, get some kind of a meeting together, informal, and maybe come up with a basic plan of steps forward. Okay. Thanks for the inputs. It's a tough one from scratch as I'm listening. We just haven't done anything for a lot of years, other than the habitat. Okay. Thanks. You want to tell us, Dean, kind of what your thought is for the water sampling? Is that the next item?
Yep.
Water sampling?
Yeah, request for bids. We have a public water system here at the town office and the library and also the town beach. The system here at the town hall and the library requires a higher level of certification because it has UV treatment. The system at the town beach doesn't have any treatment. So for a couple of reasons. One is just going out to bid for a operator potentially of all the systems, or separately the town hall and the library, and then a separate operator for the beach, is just a good thing to do, just in terms of getting potentially, not that we're not that the current operator is not doing a good job, but it's just a way of getting to see how we're doing in terms of the cost and service. So another reason for going out to bid is to see if we can get a lower price for the town beach operator, because that does require a lower level of certification. So the hope is to go out to bid for a contract period, July 1st, and see what comes in. Last time we went out to bid, it was just after the system was installed, which was about 4 years ago, and we got 3 proposals, and we didn't have as much information about the system, so we didn't have a full request for proposals like this. So hopefully we can get some good proposals.
Are you talking about separating the beach from the rest of the town hall because you're having 2 different bid requests in? Like you said that we had someone, Janine did it last year for the beach, and it was
Well, actually, the current operator did it last year. I think when Janine was here as zone administrator, she did do it for a period of time. As, you know, she was a staff person, and that she actually, Tom Mansfield may have done it for a period of time. But that's not currently in the job description of the zone administrator.
So then you want one request for bid for all of this water sampling?
Or it could be someone just bids on the beach.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Do you want
Right.
to separate them or
Yeah,
not?
it could be either or.
Says they have the option in here to do either or. so-
Right.
Okay. So you're asking us for approval to release this
Right.
request? Do you want an action or just the minutes?
Sure, I mean, as long as the minutes reflect the...
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the RFP for the town operators of water systems.
Second.
Just a couple small things. The last bullet of both sections, Town Beach and the section Town Hall and Library. Reporting is to be submitted as required to the state of Vermont instead of by. I mean, it is also required by, but this also informs them where to send it.
They don't want to send it to us?
Right? Aren't they submitting it to the?
Yeah,
that
usually it
division?
is to the state.
What about town of Charlotte?
Usually the reports go to the state. I mean, we can get a
If
copy
there's a
as well.
violation, we'll find out from the state, or if we're.
Well, yeah, if
I'd
there's
not be
a...
surprised. Can we say Vermont and town of Charlotte, or? I mean, I hate to have them come down 3 months later and say, hey, we just read you're in violation.
Right.
So, reporting is to be submitted as required to the State of Vermont Drinking Water and Groundwater Protection Division and to the town administrator?
Sure.
And then just so that it matches the titles of the two sections above, under proposal shall be submitted as follows. I just separate town office, and instead of the dash, I would have and library.
Okay.
Okay. Did you make a motion?
I did.
Was it seconded?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we're editing now.
Are those friendly amendments?
Very friendly.
Oh, sure.
Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, the appeal of preliminary and final plat decisions by KO Properties.
I'd like to recuse myself as involves family members and join the audience.
Okay. Determination whether town attorney should enter appearance to request to represent town in an appeal. You want to, who would like to speak about this? Should you or
I can start,
Eddie?
if
Or
there's anything else, I'll yield the floor. The Planning Commission issued a decision, actually issued two decisions, the preliminary decision and a final decision. And the preliminary decision was appealed, but that was, was put on hold to allow the final review to go forward. It went forward, a final decision was issued, and that's been appealed on a fairly narrow ground. Usually the process for appeals of the Planning Commission, and probably the zoning board as well, first seek to try to resolve it through mediation. So the normal process is for both parties to, usually through their attorneys, to find an acceptable mediator, and rather than going to court, and sometimes that can be resolved in a day. And if it can't be resolved, then it would proceed to court.
So it does go to a judge where it stands now. So the request is should our attorney make an appearance?
Right.
And then the attorney, or the judge most frequently say if he's tried mediation and recommend mediation.
Correct.
So I read in some of your write-up that, A, we would vote on that, and then were you suggesting a member of the select board be a part of that then?
You could,
Or part of the mediation, maybe?
yeah, if you wanted to do that at this time or at a future meeting.
So the only step we have to take now is a motion to make an appearance.
Right.
And typically, we support that because we support our zoning and planning folks. So I would assume we would want to do this. So any motion from or comments from anybody?
I'll make a motion to make an appearance in the matter of KR Properties.
Has that been seconded? Second?
I guess,
So-
just to be clear, it would be to have the town attorney make an appearance?
It would be
Yes.
clear what
Yeah,
our town attorney.
Okay.
Attorney make an
So
appearance.
then, there'll be a scheduled date for this. It's usually probably very short.
They usually will go very quickly in terms of, they'll just have a phone conference and then start talking about mediation.
Okay. Are there any other comments from anybody? We have a motion to have our attorney make an appearance. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Okay. Are these resolvable issues? I don't even know what they are. They're resolvable? Couple of issues, or? Okay. Thank you. The next topic is liquor license.
Make a motion to convene as the liquor control board.
Yep. Second.
Second.
Welcome.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks.
Okay. There are things that you hand out to us, and do we all sign, if I remember on these?
There's 3 documents there.
3 different license requests? Is there a motion for these 3 first-class commercial caterer license, second-class license small vinous beverages, tobacco license? Is there a motion to approve this request for licenses?
Excuse me.
Make a motion to request the first class license, second class license, and tobacco license for the Little Garden Market.
I'll second that.
Now, do I say only 2 or 3? So
Actually, the tobacco license may not need to be signed.
It's not separate.
Okay.
Right.
I believe it may be together. They're usually filed together as a single.
I think,
This one says
We have some institutional knowledge up here.
liquor license. I don't see anything on tobacco, but was anything I'm supposed, we haven't voted yet.
yeah, there's, it's just the back page.
It says, okay, that's where we would sign. So we sign in 3 places or 2 places? Just 2 places? 3 places? 3 places, okay. Any questions on this? All in favor, say aye.
The only question I got,
yep.
I got a question on the first class commercial caterer's license to sell malt and vinous beverages. Now, does that allow them to drink in the Little Garden Market, or is this for something, or is this for a catered event?
Catered event.
Yeah, that's my.
Okay, so it's a separate.
travel.
Yeah.
Okay, and usually they get one for each event that they.
I think this is an overarching, maybe they need something in addition to this, but this is,
I think this is for a year. They
Yeah.
have the license to do as many weddings as they want and sell wine.
Because I've never seen them together,
You can-
that's all.
I think you can do it either way, Frank. You
I-
can
I
have
ju-
an independent one, or you can get one for the year that covers everything.
Okay, because I'm used to looking at the caterer's license as a separate license from
The liquor license.
the liquor license.
No,
That
I
might
think-
be in a city that has an ordinance.
My brother has a caterer's license, and he has a second-class liquor license, but he doesn't have a first-class
With the state.
liquor license. Yes, all these are with the state. So he's got these, but he doesn't have a first-class commercial caterer's license to sell malt and various beverages.
Sounds worth investigating. I mean,
So,
The blind caterer.
so he can cater stuff, but
doesn't sell the wine and
he
beer.
doesn't have, and I know that the old Lantern usually gets one for each event. Or do they get a year-long one?
I think they got a year long.
Okay. Good to know.
It might be more expensive.
Okay,
Than
then.
one of them.
Ticket.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. So I see it that we sign it in 4 places. Signature of authorized agent, that's us, right?
Yep.
And we're the approval body, right?
We the liquor control board.
We learn many actions.
I'll just pass them down.
Another license passes and we don't have samples.
Is there a motion to come out of the liquor board and go back to the select board?
So moved.
Is that seconded?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're back in the select board meeting. Okay.
Just a quick question, procedurally, Dean, do you know if, when the select board convenes as the liquor control board, that is authorization from the state to grant licenses on their behalf? 'Cause
Yes.
These are state licenses.
Correct.
Kind of like the wastewater permit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, sorry.
The next thing I see here is the second meeting in May would be on Memorial Day, which is Monday, May 28th. Does the 29th work for people, which is a Tuesday?
Is there anything else for the 29th? Would that be the Conservation Commission?
That I don't know.
It's the 5th Tuesday, so if they meet, I think they meet the 4th Tuesday.
Could be, I think they meet the last Tuesday.
Devil's in the details. It's, works for my schedule if it doesn't conflict with anything.
Send those over to Frank.
So we're going to say,
I'm fine with the Tuesday, as long as
Okay,
it's not
so-
interfering with another board.
They're on the calendar there for the 22nd.
Okay,
so
thank you.
we're approving the, having the second May on the 29th then, May select board meeting. The next thing we have are minutes.
The only conflict I might have is if it's an early meeting, but 7 o'clock I can definitely do.
Okay. The only thing we would be doing probably is still working on the ordinance, I don't know.
Right.
Which one do we sign?
We
But
have one more,
we got plenty of players here if you,
Yeah.
but you're our English major.
maybe I'll send in an edited
We'll,
copy.
we'll approve it based on your going through the language. So, is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 9th as may be modified? That was a yes?
Yes.
Seconded?
moved.
Okay, so you guys looking at April 9th minutes?
Did someone second that?
Second.
Okay. I do have a question on 93, line 93. It said we temporarily approved Ben Mason to hook up. We didn't we approved him to hook up.
I double checked that. I actually went back and listened to it. 'cause
Well, we
I
may have said-
questioned that too. I have it in my notes.
Don't we want to get rid of the word temporarily?
You can, well, it was until the ordinance is completed, if you read.
Oh, I saw that.
So,
Well, once you,
There's no
It was more like you switch them, it was a temporary approval to hook up until ordinance is completed.
And he has to go through the ordinance, whatever ordinance is created.
It's approved, however, and then once the ordinance is approved, the ordinance applies, something like that, seems to me. I mean, he doesn't have a temporary hookup, he has a real hookup.
Okay, so how do you want that to read?
I'd say is approved, second by Mr. Crasnow, to approve request by Ben Mason to hook up in the town's wastewater system.
If you just swap temporary and approve, you approve a temporary, he's temporarily hooked up until the ordinance is in effect.
Temporarily, that's a better way, just swap the two words, I like that. Approve and temporarily, yep. That's good, Dean. I didn't see anything else, other than anything that I saw that struck out at me. All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are going to go in executive session, but are there any other issues to be brought before the board before we do that? I don't think, we won't have an action. We might, I think when we come out of executive session, we will probably recommend adding something to the agenda for May. So I don't consider that an action, I just consider it.
Just put it on the agenda.
Agree on adding something to the agenda. Okay. Is there any other topics before the select board? Is there a motion to move to executive session, discuss real estate?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Did we word that properly, Matt, to keep us out of trouble? Executive session to discuss real estate. Okay. All, huh?
Are you inviting the town administrator?
Yes. Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I don't think we need to, there'll be nothing coming out of this other than maybe adding an agenda item. So I think we can end the VCAM recording. Okay. Want to move to a back room?